Hi, I'm Yassen from TransXnetwork. You may be aware of the fact that transgender and transsexual don't mean the same thing. If you're not, I'm going to explain the distinction between these two words. According to transequality.org, transgender people are people whose gender identity is different from the gender they were thought to be at birth. This is the most commonly used definition of transgender, but there is another one that is also used sometimes. That definition, that is from the American Psychological Association, is an umbrella term for persons whose gender identity, gender expression, or behavior does not conform to that typically associated with the sex to which they were assigned at birth. So this definition, that is broader than the other one, includes gender non-conforming people. And I know that many people will contest that because nowadays the most commonly used definition of transgender is people whose gender identity is different from the gender they were thought to be at birth, like the gender they were assigned at birth. But a few decades ago, it was pretty common to include crossdressers under the transgender umbrella. You may see this image with, violet, I think, transgender umbrella with a lot of terms underneath. Every single term that falls under this umbrella has been included in the definition of transgender at one point. And transgender has actually been popularized to be an umbrella term for transsexuals and transvestites. Transvestites are crossdressers, and transsexuals are people having a strong desire to assume the physical characteristics and gender role of the opposite sex. Another definition of transsexual that is less commonly used, but it's still sometimes used, is a person who has undergone hormone treatment or surgery to attain the physical characteristics of the opposite sex. Most people use the other definition of transsexual. The word transsexual is pretty commonly used in the transmedicalist community, but the thing is, even though there's a majority of transmedicalists who believe in non-binary people, there's only about half of them who actually believe that non-binary people should be allowed to call themselves transsexuals. So non-binary transmedicalists decided to coin new terms that were equivalent to transsexual. One of these terms that was coined by the Reddit user Cat is transX. By the way, the T letter is never capitalized. So what does transX mean? Transx means a person with atypical body dysphoria. There are currently two terms under that umbrella term. Duosex, that means someone who would feel body dysphoria if they don't have mixed sexual characteristics. And Nullsex, that means someone who would feel body dysphoria if they don't get rid of their sexual characteristics. And by the way, Nullsex dysphoria has been studied in the past. 4 decades ago it was called Skoptic syndrome, but it was removed from the DSM since then, so it doesn't exist anymore in the DSM. If you're not aware, a few months after the word Duosex was coined, someone had tried to quote-unquote reclaim it by changing the meaning of this term and by making it inclusive of people without body dysphoria and without dysphoria in general. It didn't work because the TransX community fought to keep it, and it worked. But a few months later, just 2 months ago actually, a Tumblr account was made, and the name of this Tumblr account is TransX Culture Is. According to its bio, it's a blog that combines transgender, transage, transabled, dysphoria, aka transracial, and all of their variants. So as you can see, it doesn't focus on body dysphoria. They do accept asks about body dysphoria, but they don't focus on it. They focus on things that are not related to the original definition of transX. This blog also made a transX education resources master list. And of course it included things that are not related to body dysphoria. This blog was created by 2 people who are involved in the Mogai community and who are anti-transmed. They picked a term that already existed, and by flooding the transX tag on Tumblr, they managed to make some people dislike the term transX and to make them believe that it's something that has to do with transracial, transage, and transabled people, and that it doesn't have anything to do with trans people or non-binary people, while the original meaning of it is 100% related to non-binary dysphoria. I'm just making this video to tell people that transX, when used in the transmedicalist community, it usually means someone with atypical body dysphoria. So this is the end of this video. I hope that you liked it, and see you for another video.